So today we are going to be working with the exponent power rules. And there's 4 basic power rules you need to know. All right? When you're multiplying two powers that have the same base, notice they both have 2 as the base, but they have different exponents there. But if they're multiplying two powers with the same base, we keep the same base and we add the exponents. 5 plus 2, 7. So this becomes, 2 to the 5th times 2 to the 2nd simplifies to 2 to the 7th power. All right? Now, when you're multiplying two powers and they have the same exponent, the rule is this. If the exponents are the same, you keep the exponent, but you have to multiply the bases. 2 times 3, 6. So this simplifies to 6 to the 7th power. All right? Now, if you have a power, like 5 to the 7th power, and that's raised to another power, the rule is you keep the base the same and you multiply the exponents. 7 times 2 is 14. And finally, if you're dividing powers with the same base, again, you keep the base the same, but you subtract the exponents. 7 minus 2, 5. So this is 3 to the 5th power. All right? Now that you've refreshed yourself on the basic rules, we're going to apply them to some slightly harder problems. These are some multi-step exponent power rules. All right? So let's do that. So this first one, you've got 7 to the 3rd times 7 to the 5th in parentheses, all raised to the 2nd power. Now, if I want to simplify this, I've got to use the order of operations. And the order of operations says, since we're doing two things here, we're multiplying the two powers together and then raising it to a power. But notice, the multiplication is in parentheses. And order of operations say we got to do those grouping symbols first. So let's do that first. 7 to the 3rd times 7 to the 5th. Keep the base the same and add the exponents. This becomes 7 to the 8th. Okay? Now it's all still being raised to the 2nd power. So now that we've done the first step, now we can finish this problem by doing the exponent last. 7 to the 8th raised to the 2nd. That's a power to a power rule. We keep the base. We multiply the exponents. 8 times 2, 16. There's your answer. All right. Let's do another one here. 5 to the 2nd power raised to the 4th times 5 to the 10th. So we've got 2 steps going on. We're raising a power to a power, and then we're multiplying. Now the order of operations say we've got to do exponents before multiplication, so this is our first step. So let's do that first. Raising a power to a power, we keep the base, and we multiply the exponents. So we get 5 to the 8th power there. But remember, we still have to multiply that by 5 to the 10th power. So now let's do that last step. Multiplying powers with the same base, we keep the base, we add the exponents. This is going to get me 5 to the 18th. All right, let's go to the next one. We've got 2 steps here. 5 to the 16th divided by 5 to the 2nd in parentheses, and then raised to the 2nd power. All right, so there's 2 steps here. Order of operations say we have to do parentheses first. So 5 to the 16th divided by 5 to the 2nd. The division rule says we keep the base and subtract the exponents. So 5 to the 14th. And then that whole thing is being raised to the 2nd power. So power to a power rule. The rule says we keep the base, multiply the exponents. This can be 5 to the 28th power. All right, got a couple more. They're going to get a little bit harder as we go on. Here we go. 8 times 8 to the 8th divided by 8 to the 4th. So we got 2 steps here. Now we've got multiplication and we've got division. But this division bar, you can always think of that division bar as kind of a grouping symbol. So we actually have to do this first here. So 8 to the 8th divided by 8 to the 4th. The division rule says we keep the base and subtract the exponents. So this is going to be 8 to the 4th. But remember, we're still multiplying this by that 8 out front. Okay, so we're multiplying 2 powers with the same base. Now there is no exponent here, but when there is no exponent, just remember, there's really a 1. It's 8 to the 1st power. All right, so we're multiplying powers with the same base, so we keep the base and add the exponents. We get 8 to the 5th power. All right, next one. Now notice this one has variables, but it really doesn't change anything about how we do anything. We've got x to the 3rd raised to the 4th power divided by x to the 5th. All right, so we've got to do the top first because we've got exponents there. So we've got x to the 3rd raised to the 4th. So power to a power means we keep the base and multiply the exponents. But remember, we still have to divide that whole thing by x to the 5th. And the rule for dividing is we keep the base and we subtract the exponents. 12 minus 5, 7. So this is going to get me x to the 7th power. All right, next one. W to the 7th times w to the 3rd raised to the 6th. All right, so we've got two steps here. We've got a multiplication. We've got power to a power. Order of operations say we've got to do those exponents first, so let's do that. W to the 3rd raised to the 6th. Keep the base. Multiply the exponents. So w to the 18th. But we've still got that w to the 7th being multiplied by it. So now we can use our multiplication rule. We keep the base, add the exponents. W to the 25th power. There we go. All right, we've got two more. These are going to be a little bit harder. Now notice this one. We've got t to the 9th times t to the 4th, and then that whole thing's raised to the 3rd power. All right, so technically there's a couple of steps going on here. But notice, all this stuff in parentheses, based on the order of operation, we've got to do that first. And luckily, this multiplication, even though we're multiplying three numbers, we're basically using the same rule. And the rule is when we multiply powers, we keep the base and add the exponents. So let's add them. This one's 9. This one doesn't have an exponent, so it really means to the 1st power. So that's a 1, and that's a 4. So 9 plus 1 plus 4 is 14. So this is t to the 14th power inside these parentheses. But remember, it's all still being raised to the 3rd power. So now we can finish this problem by raising a power to the power rule. And the rule is keep the base, multiply the exponents. T to the 42nd power. All right. Last one. We've got m to the 4th power, raised to the 5th power, raised to the 6th power. Okay, so we've got a couple things going on here. We've got a power, raised to a power, raised to a power again. Now, order of operations say we have to do the grouping symbol first because we got parentheses. We got a bunch of parentheses, really, but we want to start with the innermost one first. All right, so let's do that. M to the 4th raised to the 5th, power to a power. Keep the base, and we multiply the exponents. So that's going to be m to the 20th. But remember, we're still raising everything to the 6th power, so we've got that last step to do. And just like the last rule, power to a power, keep the base, multiply the exponents. M to the 120th power. So there you go. Okay, so you can see you have to know your power rules. They get a little bit mixed up when you've got multi-step problems. But if you go one step at a time, and I really do like to break down one step at a time, and notice how I showed my work so that way I didn't get lost in my head trying to remember rules and doing computation in my head. All right, but work carefully through these. Make sure you practice these basic rules so that you can apply them to the harder ones, okay? So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button. Also subscribe because it really helps us out. But with that being said, good luck on your math, and I will see you next time.